Today for me went great and it ultimately caps over this week. And in the morning, I had to do a few chores, surprisingly, which I only did after school because of some stuff at home this time that I had to do. I made a mess. That took away a lot of my time I could have taken to get to school early morning. So I barely got to school around 9:17 a.m. and I was barely early to enter first period. And it's not as late this time, thankfully. So first period, this one went mostly neutral. I finished up a Spanish crossword where we had to use vocabulary words and I tried my best to share answers, but no avail to finish anyway. Credit to JT and one other girl. Now, second period, this is PE period and it went quite interesting. It was windy, so we were inside today and I played volleyball with the boys I hang out with sometimes. They're like the crazy ones. I don't call this a classical game of volleyball, but I moreover call this assault volleyball because like they were not just getting hit at that point. Like at that point, playing very, very toughly. Even though I tried my best to set and use a volleyball properly, at that point it was just like a throwing game at that point. I will call it assault volleyball instead because of how the game was being played. But it was funny though. I'll leave it like that. A big credit goes to Rayon and Giuseppe and the rest of the boys this time. Third period, most of this time we worked on a worksheet regarding sea currents, and I finished the first part as the teacher instructed us to do so. We did a quiz, and credit to my partner Liv for helping us to get a perfect score. In the table nearby, as our partners for the quiz sat down, it's a different set of people. One of the chairs broke, and a whole laughing argument about it, why it broke, ensued, and even the teacher himself, as he went to fix up the chair, laughed. Now, at the end of this period, I looked around to clean desks. The teacher saw and came up to me, and I saw what looked like pieces of paper airplanes on the floor. I asked the teacher, "What is that?" "It looks like paper airplanes or toys." And then I touched it with my bare hand. And then I realized that those aren't paper airplanes. That's gum. Some gum on the floor. So I literally touched something that was in somebody's mouth. So the teacher said, "Why do you think it was some paper airplane toy?" And of course it wasn't, as he brought the clean broom to get that gum out of the way. But that was kind of disgusting, I'll be honest. But that really did deceive me because it was a very neutral color. Anyways, for fourth period, I did another video guide worksheet where we watched on screen and answered questions on paper, and it was all about World War II. What I heard is that everybody was working. The U.S. produced tanks and, lots of fighter craft in just 17 days. Even scrap metal from old dog toys, and lots of metal was used in the war effort. For that time, I learned how it was kind of chaotic, and even the women were also sent to work these jobs. And as for the physical part, after we watched the video guide, I decided to kick back and relax. As for lunch period, nothing happened here. More social play tectonic stuff, but not really much to mind. As my friends went to go to a local teacher to get some stuff done. Some of the other friends that I haven't seen in a while came down, and conversation, as I say, always goes chill. Good, if both of you guys are watching right now. Then my other friends who came back sat down to a bench right by me, and now what I heard is that even though it was mostly chill this time, what I overheard is that there was some boy that apparently looked ugly, and I don't know what his name was, but one of my friends ended up mentioning it. Now that they mention it though, I wonder who that boy is. I don't know if there's any like relations to it, or I don't know. Now I'm kind of curious to who that boy is, as they say that him to be. As for fifth period, when I entered English class, I bet 13 cents again that a student would be late. It was also my teacher's birthday today, and she was very relaxed today. He was late today, so as I bet 13 cents, and the teacher said to me, "You keep jinxing him." And we both kind of had a laugh after that. I said to the teacher, "Is that what if it's not her birthday, and that she's just gonna kiss her husband in class instead of like another surprise party?" But the teacher told me to shush and not to say that because it's actually her birthday today. And yes, definitely a happy birthday to my teacher for fifth period. Now, as for most of the period, I finished up the Lord of the Flies worksheet that I talked about yesterday, and my teacher played on the projector her son's weightlifting championship game that was going on. But this time the class was more chill. It was more like a restaurant bar type of talking. As for sixth period, my teacher in sixth period always says work hard, play hard, which you guys definitely get. Then I tried to say a 6-7 joke to her as like she asked to the class, how long does it take to simplify complex numbers into A plus B I form? I held the 6-7 hand move, but she did not budge. She said 7 to 10 seconds instead and used other things. I also tried to say a what are those 2016-20 trend, but that did not work either, and my friend awkwardly laughed at me. Now, one of my friends, as we eventually went down to the assignments, had an argument with the teacher about his test score, and my friend said he had a fuss about it, though he didn't tell us the full story on why. It ended quickly, as much as my friend was sad. Eventually, we just went down to working on our work. Now, one of my friends always has some sort of character addiction to somebody named Melanie in Roblox, and he said to us, the minute I heard Melanie, the me right now would pull me then to stop me from touching myself, quote unquote. And I was like, bro, I get it, but like, why did you reveal that to us? Like, why do you talk to us like that? And that's literally it for sixth period. I eventually turned in my work after, right at the end of the period, and it went mostly chill. As for this though, I do want to let my third period partner also know, and sixth period also know that Davin, your stuff is being held in what I expensively named the detention center. That means as for my third period, your eraser that you're missing, and for my sixth period, you're missing a calculator pen that I'm gonna return next week. But I'm just saying that I'm holding it in the detention center right now, even though it's a lot of waiting for that. I don't think it can. I don't think this is catching it, but you guys see that right there? This is the detention center, what I call is just like a mini plate, but I'm gonna return this next week just for the ones who are curious. In sixth period, I don't think I mentioned this in the video earlier. I've been talking to my friends about the Epstein, like Epstein stuff, like how much they've been censoring stuff online, and how much of the Epstein files have been completely censored with like black text and a bunch of like black bars. I'm wondering now is that what if we start to use the verb to Epsteinify? Epsteinify practically means instead of using the simple verb to black out, we just use the verb Epsteinify. If someone doesn't want their name in my videos, we just say that I'm gonna Epsteinify their name away. Or we would say, let's say I'm talking about some sort of math quiz, for example. I would use the verb to Epsteinify. I would show something the internet wants to see, and then I blur all the private details about that given math quiz because people might end up sharing the answers. So I do is that every video that we do for going forward, why don't we use the verb to Epsteinify, to black out, to remove, is what I'm kind of thinking about.